Good morning, Thailand, and welcome once again to Villa Newton as we bring you all the update on what's happening around Thailand, an update on the civil partnership situation, also the latest on the Joe Ferrari case. And we've also got a tattoo that went very, very wrong. That's all coming up today with a special guest on Good Morning Thailand.
Please help us by clicking the like and subscribe button. Thank you, guys.
And welcome to the program. Thank you very much for joining us wherever you are in the world and whatever time it is. Actually got quite a few people online already, so we should say hello to Hans, to Mackie, to where is Scott D. Nice to have you back, Scott. Larry Conley. Plenty of others, the Snipes and a lot of others, TM Traveller. So look, great to have you all with us, and we'll get to some of your comments later. But we've got a special guest today, and we'd like to welcome Sean Stenning from 5-Star Marine and Living Waters Phuket. So you got, we should apologise, because we've got two Australians on the program today.
Yeah, we're going to get comments about that for sure.
So what we've done is we've added subtitles to the program so that you might be able to understand what we're saying.
I was coming to the studio expecting meat pies, but nothing yet.
No, well, yesterday we had marmalade and toast.
Wow.
So you missed that one.
Oh, that was for the Jubilee, right?
For the Jubilee, yes, that's right. But no celebration for you.
No, I got a little bit into it. You know, Phuket
Jubilee?
Yeah, Phuket does have a little bit of that English culture about it in certain areas. So I had a lot of friends talking about it, and I kind of watched it. There
was one place that was running a Jubilee like high tea.
Yes.
I thought, I'll go to that. That'd be fun. 3,200 baht. I thought, no, I won't be going to that. You have to eat a lot of scones to make up 3,200 baht.
I think a lot of the English pubs all over the island were really, really busy with the celebrations.
So good luck to all the people that got involved with the Jubilee activities. Now, before we sort of get into the program, we've got an update on Joe Ferrari to talk about, by the way. Joe Ferrari is that rogue policeman who basically tortured and killed a suspected drug dealer last year. So we'll give you an update on that. But before that, Sean, last year you were very involved with helping out the Phuket community along with One Phuket.
Yeah, look, there was a lot of us during that period of time who really dug deep to try and help out the community. And yeah, we did a lot of life bags back there, but you know, happy to say actually that we packed and delivered our very, very last life bag at the end of last month. So kind of moving on to what the next phase of rebuilding is. So, you know, for us as a foundation, we're looking at trying to get the kids back into school. A lot of the local schools across Thailand, not just in Phuket, they didn't really reopen during COVID. They didn't have access to ATK tests. You know, the international schools, they went through and they did online, but a lot of the local schools, they didn't. So now we're trying to get them back into school, help the parents, you know, get the school uniforms, get the school books, get pens, pencils, all the normal stuff that you need to get back into school. So that's one of the focuses that we're really looking at in these couple of months. But we've also kicked off a life bag program in Koh Samui. I love Koh Samui. I'm really sad to admit it. I hadn't been to Koh Samui at all until this year. I've been here 15 years and I kind of just operate in Phuket. But I went to Samui and I saw it was about 9 months behind the recovery timeline of what Phuket is. So we started off a little bit of a life bag project over there, helping that local community in Koh Samui. And also, you know, we're called Living Waters Phuket, but really about kind of expanding outside of it.
The situation of a place like Koh Samui, also Pattaya and Phuket, I mean, I'm picking those three because they are so reliant on tourists. And so what happened over the past 2 years is so many of the transient workforce left those locations and headed back, you know, up country. So what it did is it left a lot of the locals who were also working to service the tourist industries stuck without work. They didn't have a home to go back to. This was their home. Correct. So now that people are starting to come back to Phuket, what's the current situation with a critical need for things like life bags?
Look, I think in Phuket there's still a need there, but it's not the driving need anymore. A lot of the things that we're seeing in Phuket is like as things start to restart, a lot of employment opportunities are coming up, but the Thais are feeling a little bit worried about what if they come back and then Thailand closes again, and then they have to go through this whole process again. So taking off my Living Waters hat and putting on my 5-star marine business owner hat, I would say to you, one of the problems we're facing as business owners is trying to convince those who went back to their provinces that, look, it's over. Yes, we do have some restrictions, and yes, maybe for a period of time they will continue, but it's time to start to come back and get back into employment. And then on top of that, you have a lot of these guys who maybe don't even have the money to start up again in Phuket. They've got to come and rent, they've got to get situated, then they've got to get into a job. So, these are some of the more pressing problems, I think, more in Phuket right now. Look, while we've officially closed off the Life Bag project, if we see a need, every now and then we'll help. But really we're trying to focus now on not being the bridge, but kind of being on the other side, helping them to rebuild their lives, get kids back into school.
So instead of giving them fish, teaching them how to fish.
Well, that's a lot of the criticism I got during the first couple of years of COVID was like, why are we just giving the food? And I'm like, well, in this short period of time, the only way to survive is to give the food. But now I think it needs to move to a way where we can ease people back into employment, maybe help them to upskill, support other foundations that are doing great work on the island as well. Because this is the thing I think that's happened Thailand-wide and maybe even worldwide, is that we all went into this survival mode, and all of us was focusing on making sure that people weren't, without food. And that meant that a lot of charities that sat on the fringes and helped those who were on the fringes, maybe they didn't get the donations that they needed, they didn't get the support that they needed. And so now is the time for us as a foundation to kind of step back and push them into the spotlight and say, look, these guys have been doing great work for years upon years. There's a great foundation that I'm working with right now in Chiang Mai.
Let's have a talk about that later. So this is the Bangkok Community Help Foundation?
Different one, but...
Oh, different one?
Yeah,
okay.
Bangkok Community Help, amazing foundation.
So we've got this story about a project in Chiang Mai, but we'll get to that later. Because let's move on, Sean, and have a talk about some of the big stories today. Now, the big one that's sort of looming, and I was actually waiting to get a message on my phone, but it hasn't arrived, has it? Not yet, no. There is a verdict coming down today. It's probably going to be about lunchtime, and that's going to be about Joe Ferrari. Now, Joe Ferrari, his real name is Titisan Utanapon, and he was the police chief in Nakhon Sawan. Just a bit of background. You recall the story last year?
It was a big story last year, yeah.
Nasty. He was involved with the torture and then the eventual killing of a suspected drug dealer who he was 24 years old. His name was Jirapong Tanapat. And they ended up putting plastic bags over his head and threatening him. They were trying to extort some 2 million baht from him.
Pretty undeniable footage there that got out on social media and went viral.
Well, the fact that there was video footage taken by the police room camera, firstly, how stupid were they to have that camera rolling? But anyway, thank God it was, because he was captured, and so pretty much undeniable evidence. Otherwise, a lot of people would say, oh, he would have got away with it.
I was going to say, maybe we're speaking before the verdict, but a lot of the people back then were worried that he wouldn't even go to trial, so it's a big win to see him in trial.
He's not only gone to trial, but apparently a verdict comes out today. We were hoping we might get some inkling before the program, but we will bring you up to date with all the latest about the Joe Ferrari case. So that's coming up, and it'll be published at thetiger.com.
That's some pretty serious assets there, Tim.
Oh my goodness.
So this is where the Ferrari name came from, right?
Exactly. So he got this nickname Joe Ferrari because he was living a pretty high-so lifestyle. He had a big house in Bangkok, so a 57 million baht mansion, almost as big as yours. In total, investigating officers seized assets valued at 130 million baht, including 24 cars valued at 70 million baht, a condo valued at 1.5 million baht, and 18 guns valued at 720,000 baht. I think since that list, they've also found some other assets.
I remember when you broke this story on the Thaiger, I was actually reading it, and there was some legitimacy to some of his asset ownership because as the investigating officer, right, he had a right to some kind of, if they sold the asset, he had a right to it as a bonus as a police officer. But obviously, still investigating.
Still investigating. So the verdict about Joe Ferrari should be out around about lunchtime Thai time today, acknowledging that it's around about 10 past 10 in the morning at the moment Thai time. So I know a lot of you are interested in that case and we'll do our best to bring that to you. Okay, so let's get into our next story. Oh, we should also say thank you very much to the sponsor of Good Morning Thailand, and that is Regents International School in Pattaya. So there's an advertisement right on the top of the Thaiger.com page. If you're looking at schooling a child up in the Pattaya area, there literally isn't a better school than the Regents International School in Pattaya. So thank you very much for your support and sponsorship. Jason, this light over here is really bright. You noticing that on the... Anyway, I'll leave that up to you. Got Jason looking after the buttons today, and hopefully we've sorted out some of the problems. The only noise in the background today, we've got the air conditioner on because the camera's overheated, and it's also raining outside.
I was going to say we're having a tropical shower here today.
Filling up the pool.
The pool looks good.
The pool. So, yeah, you don't really want to be swimming in this weather. Let's wait till the sun comes out. Another thing that's happened the last couple of days, and this was a bit surprising that it sort of came out of nowhere, and this is there's been a new bill for civil partnership in Thailand, and it's out of nowhere. I don't think the media had any warning that this was coming up, but it's actually passed through the Thai cabinet and will now be heading to the Thai Parliament for its first reading. So just to backtrack, back in 2020, the Move Forward Party, which is one of the opposition parties, proposed same-sex marriage, like a change to the Marriage Act, which is sort of like, rather than going from here to there, they decided, oh, we'll go to here. So they really it was sort of doomed to fail.
Yeah, so it's a smaller first step now with this kind of civil partnerships.
Yeah, and a lot of countries have gone about it this way, Australia included. They had a civil partnership bill which basically legitimised and legalised these partnerships and gave them the benefits or the the other problem. But they'd then have to divorce themselves if they separated from this partnership.
I read that actually. It said that once inside the civil partnership that you can't engage in marriage, so you have to end the civil partnership first. Yes. Before you were to get married, which is interesting. I'm not across the laws across all of the world, but it seems like a really positive step forward for Thailand.
Well, a lot of people, they sort of outwardly think Thailand is very sort of open, and they go to places like Pattaya and Bangalore and Soy Cowboy, you know, the places you know. And they sort of go, oh, it's a very accepting place and there's ladies on poles and there's gay and lesbian people. Oh, it's all very accepting. But actually it's a very conservative society.
Yeah, I'm going to say outside of just those spots that you mentioned, it is very conservative. You know, going on a beach in a bikini is something that the Westerners do, but it's not something that most Thais would do.
The civil partnership bill will also allow couples to jointly hold property and the right to adopt children. This is, I think, probably going to be very contentious and quite controversial for many people. And there's an interesting rump of the coalition, the Bumjai Thai Party, which holds some 51 MP places in the coalition, under the leadership of our favourite Public Health Minister, Anaton I can never get his name right. What is his name? Help me out, Jason. Chan Vidakun. Thanks, Jason. Thanks for nothing. So he's already come out and said that he and a lot of his MPs, I think he mentioned 6 of them, are going to vote against the bill on moral grounds. Interestingly, I'm trying to figure out where he gets these moral grounds from, because Buddhism doesn't actually specifically address sexuality, unlike some of the monotheistic religions in the world which condemn sort of homosexual acts or same-sex acts. So Buddhism doesn't mention it, but I don't know where he gets this moral problem from.
Look, it'd be nice. I think as well as you, it'd be nice to see it to go through and then also see what happens with the next step here in the Thai government.
Good, thanks. I've got 18 jobs here today. Apart from trying to make sure Jason presses the right buttons, I'm trying to read the comments, and thank you very much. We'll get to these comments as soon as we can. I just need to check. Jason, do we have the news? Yes. With Natty? We've got the news already, because she has to beam it down from Bangkok. So we've got that in the can. So we might go to that very soon, and it'll give me an opportunity to check the comments. So that is basically a heads up, Jason. Anyway, so what's the next step for the Civil Partnership Bill? Well, it now has to go to Parliament. It will likely, because it'll get the backing of the Petchmorakot Party, which have basically brought this bill forward. Surprisingly, do you think Pride Week they thought, oh, this is a good idea? It might just be coincidence.
Yeah, well, the other side is it's got a lot of positive public sentiment now out of Pride Week, and then hopefully putting this out, they can roll off that sentiment and get it pushed through.
Yeah.
And then after Parliament, then it's going to go to the Senate after that for a vote.
Yeah, so that's an interesting thing because, of course, the Senate in Thailand's 250 senators are all hand-picked by the former junta and the Thai Prime Minister, who was the General Prayut at that stage. But I think because he's basically put his name to this and shown his support in public, he was saying things like, because of global changes, particularly gender equality and sexual diversity, he noted that the bill would provide fundamental human rights.
So I think this is reflective. Like, you and I both have Thai friends, and they're very, very open to the different concepts of gender and sexuality here, and it's really just now the law catching up to how it's practiced in normal society.
Yeah, but I mean, for this relatively conservative Prime Minister to say these words, I think somebody wrote the script for him, but if he's going to back it, then I think that the Senate will probably back it as well.
Yeah, let's hope so.
So anyway, that's all coming up, Civil Partnership Bill, and we'll bring you up to date on that on the Thaiger. At this stage, with thanks to the Regent's International School in Pattaya and all our great friends online. We'll get to your comments soon. We're now going to cross to Bangkok and hear from the latest news from Natty.
Authorities are dismissing claims of a new vaccine rollout plan to clear the soon-to-be expired vaccine stock. The Ministry of Public Health has yet to decide whether a fifth shot would be needed and whether it would even be safe and effective to do so. It may be recommended that people who have had 4 shots and suffer from low immunity against coronavirus because of personal health conditions should get a 5th shot, but that needs to be discussed with a doctor. Having said that, the Department of Disease Control announced Thailand has no plans to roll out a 5th COVID-19 vaccine just yet. Workers from Cambodia, Myanmar, and Laos no longer have to go through a quarantine procedure when they enter Thailand from today onwards. In an effort to stop illegal border crossers looking for work, a newly signed memorandum of understanding will allow more than 160,000 migrant workers to enter Thailand without having to go through the quarantine procedure if they have been fully vaccinated with 2 doses and provide a negative test result for COVID-19. In addition to being fully vaccinated, migrant workers must have health insurance, get a health check, and pass a COVID test. If everything comes back healthy, they will be given a work permit. And lastly, a side street food vendor in Khon Kaen is finding a new spot to call home after a famous social media blogger complained that the food stall took over a bus stop nearby to serve food to its customers. A local Facebook page, Ka Kuep Plik, which means sprain my ankle, was created to highlight and criticize the number of different problems Thai people face on a daily basis, and usually on Thailand's many sidewalks. A number of the complaints include motorbikes on sidewalks, riders parking their motorbikes on sidewalks, difficulties negotiating around street vendors, and the hundreds of thousands of damaged pathways that could potentially cause accidents and harms to pedestrians. Last Sunday, the Facebook page posted a picture of tables and chairs under the roof of the bus stop. Local media reported the Facebook page was successful and that Khon Kaen municipal officials investigated the restaurant immediately after the post went viral.
And welcome back to the program. Thank you very much, Natty. Do you want to have a break now, Jason? Or, yeah, we'll have a quick break and then we're going to come back. We're going to have a talk about another rather funny story how tattoos can go completely wrong. And this happened to a French Muay Thai fighter, and I've got a bit of a story about a tattoo that went, not on me. I'm tattoo free. Do you have any tattoos?
Tattoo free.
We're both tattoo free, which is probably not usual for Australians our age.
I don't know. You're allowed to say this. I'm too scared. I think it would hurt too much.
You can say that.
Yeah, I'm probably going to get comments about that too. But yeah, no, I couldn't do it. I've seen people do it. I've sat there for hours watching people getting tattooed. I couldn't do it.
Either could I. Do you have tattoos, Jason? No, we're all tattoo free here. But we're going to have a quick break and come back, and we'll show you what we've done to one of our cats. That's all coming up on Good Morning Thailand.
At Regent's International School Pattaya, we are really excited to be introducing the A-level programme alongside the International Baccalaureate Diploma programme. We are offering these two programmes really to prepare students best for university wherever they choose to go in the world.
And back on the program, Good Morning Thailand, our special guest, Sean Stenning from 5 Star Marine. Sean, not sure, you know we've got a couple of cats here.
More than a few, right?
No, just 2 now.
Oh.
But what we thought, we like a bit of branding, so what we did is we've branded one of the cats. So here's Dusty. She used to be the office cat down at when we had Thaiger at Kamala. This is about 4 years ago. And she ended up here because nobody else wanted her. So yeah, she came back. She was a huge cat. So she's trimmed down, and she's got a little friend called Dina now, and they love running around the yard and catching mice and stuff. So yeah, thank you very much, Dusty, for carrying the brand. Good on you. So let's move on to our next story. And I headlined this the only way I think I could, and called it Whoops. So let's introduce a guy. He's a French Muay Thai kickboxer. His name is Jimmy Vienot. Vienot unintentionally made a little bit of an idiot of himself after a recent fight with Petchmorakot at the Lumpinee Boxing Stadium in Bangkok. Now, people have actually written to us and said actually it was Singapore. So I'm not sure if it was in Bangkok or Singapore. That really isn't the story. I thought maybe while we're having a bit of a talk to him, Jason, let's have a little bit of a look at Jimmy in action. So he's a Muay Thai fighter, and obviously a very, very good one. I don't think I'd like to be stuck in the ring with him. Anyway, he thought to celebrate or commemorate his Thai kickboxing, he'd go and get a tattoo. Now, I've got another story about a tattoo gone wrong, but what exactly happened with this one? It's a bit of a Thai language problem.
Well, this kind of does happen a little bit in Thailand, where we think we go and ask for something and something completely different comes, because a lot of the words in Thai, they have very, very similar sounds, but if you slightly change the pronunciation, it can mean something completely different. And so in this particular case, I believe that he asked what he thought was getting the word Muay Thai written on his arm, but the tattoo artist interpreted it as something entirely different. And maybe the word came across something more like, can we say it politely on YouTube?
We can say penis.
What word are we allowed to use on YouTube?
We can say penis.
I was just wondering what censorship we have. So yeah, it came across and it said basically penis tie on his leg rather than on his arm instead of Muay Thai.
So it's something to do with the K or the M sound or something.
Well, even when we were talking about this off air, you said that it said Koi Thai, and in my interpretation, Koi is actually buffalo. But Jason here actually managed to say that the different sounding is between the U and the A in the word, and that's how we get penis Thai rather than buffalo Thai.
So Jason, what is? You wouldn't want buffalo Thai written on your arm either, would you? What's buffalo?
Kwai.
And what's penis?
Kwai.
Kwai.
The difference is so subtle.
Okay.
No, you can totally understand how the tattoo artist might have misinterpreted
And if you look at the Thai characters, they're very, very similar. So just a bit of a squiggle with the ink pen thing, and you'd be, yeah, you could make them. But you would have thought a Thai tattoo artist would have gone, oh.
But you also have to remember that Thai has, like in Australia, when you go to Adelaide, they speak a little bit different to those from Melbourne. Thailand is very similar. So we speak local Phuket Thai here, and that is different to Bangkok Thai. And the words that we use are very, very different. I think the one that I like to use the example most is like buat in Bangkok means pain, but here in Phuket generally we say jeb, meaning pain. I have a buat hua, meaning I have a sore head, or I have a jeb hua, meaning I have a sore head. So I can understand the tattoo artist. Maybe he was interpreting a different version of Thai.
So you put me to shame. You can speak Thai okay?
I can get in and out of problems with Thai. No.
Wow, that's amazing.
My pronunciation is not great, so I probably would have ended up with a penis tie on my arm.
So I recall there was another story, a similar thing happened where there was the grand final of the Australian rules football. Oh, this is some 10 years ago now. And the person who wanted to get the tattoo, he was barracking for a team called Geelong, which are part of the Australian Football League. And he was going to get the word Geelong on this arm, Geelong winner, and on this side, I think it was Bulldogs or Footscray loser. Okay, so he was going to proudly walk around with this for the rest of his life. Whatever. But what he did is he wrote a note for the tattoo artist, and it sort of said, left arm, Geelong winner,
See where this is going.
right arm, Bulldogs loser. And so he just casually just sort of, I thought, I'll have a little bit of a sleep. And I gave him a little bit of a painkiller just to sort of take the edge off. When he woke up, it said, left arm, Geelong winner, right arm. So he's walking around with this sort of joke for the rest of his life.
That's hilarious.
Well, that's true. It didn't happen.
Well, it could have happened to me, Tim. I am a AFL football fan, and I left Australia before my team even won a grand final, but they won 3 since I've been here in Thailand. And the deal I had with my family was that I was meant to get a tattoo if we ever won a grand final. But this is the reason why I say I'm not going to go. I'm worried what they're going to write on me. That, and I don't like pain.
Yeah, well, I'm there with you on that one. So this French tattoo gentleman, the Muay Thai fighter, is now sort of going to be famous for this rather odd tattoo on his arms. They're not that easy to remove either.
I wonder if he's going to get some words about it when he's in the ring next time. Some of the fans will be talking about him.
Yeah, his opponent will go, French dick. So anyway, that's a little bit of an unfortunate, probably TIT moment that he won't forget. In fact, he'll have a reminder every time he looks down at his arms.
Do we have one of those photos of Thailand where they're pointing at it? That would have been cool to show.
Oh, yes. Thai's pointing at things. That's a website, by the way. Thai's pointing at things.
Yeah.
Probably gets more traction than we do. Right, let's have a talk about another thing that you can do now, is you can travel from the Don Muang airport, and you can travel all the way through to Suvarnabhumi almost. I think we mentioned this yesterday, but we're having some camera issues, so some of this may not... Was this the part we cut out yesterday? I think this is the part we cut out. So we're just going to re-mention it today. So for the people on the comment section, don't remind us that we've already mentioned this. But they've now got a new red line that's been introduced that has got a SkyTrain that runs all the way north of Don Muang Airport, the old original airport. That's casting a shadow on me. But it comes down to the new hub, Bang Su, which is it's a really nice, modern railway station. That's the new hub for railway in Thailand. And if you take a little kilometre run over to the Sukhumvit line, you can then get a train down to the airport link and then off to Suvarnabhumi. So you can almost, on public transport, go from Don Muang to... But I don't know why they somehow didn't get them to connect. So you could just walk out of the train and then into the next train. You've actually got to get a kilometre taxi ride or something. You're so close.
Well, this is something you'd be used to, Tim, flying in and out of Bangkok quite frequently.
Well, I used to love just jump on the airport link. It's 35 baht into the city. So very, very cheap and easy. But if you still want to get from one airport to the other in Bangkok, you've got to catch a bus or a taxi. There is a high-speed railway proposed, but I haven't seen anything about that over at least the past 2 years, so I'm not sure exactly what's happening with that. I think with all the money they've been spending on COVID and stuff, it's probably gone on to the don't need it right now list.
Agreed.
So there's some of our main stories today. Before we go to a quick break and then come back with your comments, Sean, let's have a talk about this project in Chiang Mai. We were accused, somebody said we only talk about Phuket and Bangkok. Well, here we are, we're talking about Chiang Mai.
Oh, we talked about Koh Samui as well.
We talked about Koh Samui and things like the Civil Partnership Act and the situation with Joe Ferrari. Obviously, they're national stories. So we're not just talking about Phuket. We happen to be in Phuket today, as is the rain. You got any tours going out to the islands?
Well, I'm getting live feedback from out of the islands, and it's actually quite sunny out there. So maybe it's
always
just over your house, just to fill your pool.
Just to fill the pool.
There goes the French champagne in the pool.
Oh dear, I filled it up with French champagne, and this is just going to dilute it. No good. So
yeah, look, I think disclaimer up front, this is not a project that only we are doing. It's a group project between a couple of foundations here in Thailand. One that's been here for more than 30 years, and actually right now we're building a dormitory up there, because what happens is that sometimes the schools are not located where the families are located. So the families might have a farm or a business that's 2, 3, 4, 5 kilometers away from the school, and the kids would have to walk that backwards and forwards every day. And this became a barrier to entry to getting kids into school.
Right.
So I think the foundation we're working with, this is their 19th dormitory that they've built up in Chiang Mai. And the whole concept is to try and get the kids to stay through school all the way through, graduate, complete their diploma. And there's this new kind of exciting thing at the end that when they do complete, they're flying down to Phuket, and we're giving them a couple of days of going out and experiencing something that they would never see as well. So it's a partnership between our two foundations, but it's also something that we as a company, we want to support as well. We want to give these kids something to look forward to, that diploma then becomes a ticket onto an airplane, and then a ticket onto a boat, and a couple of days experience in Phuket, which, again, I think a lot of people don't really realize this, but for very local people, that leaving their town maybe something that they don't even do in their entire lifetime. So this does become a nice little hook to keep them to go all the way through school.
Great. Okay, good to hear. And interesting how a couple of foundations have grown during the COVID pandemic in Thailand, and now turning from the sort of direct instant need to looking at more long-term projects, and obviously will have a great effect on the Thais who need the help for a long time.
Yeah, and while we're talking about it, Tim, there is a big fundraising event going on for the Good Shepherd in Phuket Town this coming weekend. A big Jubilee based event, and it's about getting the migrant workers back into their children into school. So anyone in Phuket should drop along to that event.
Okay, thank you. And can they find out more about that?
Go to the Good Shepherd Phuket online. I don't have their website. It's not my foundation. I apologise. It's just a great foundation and a great event. Good
Shepherd Phuket, you'll find out about that, and worth supporting if you're down on the island. And another comment about that we talk too much about Phuket and Bangkok. Last year, if you recall, the first part of Thailand to start reopening was Phuket with this sandbox project, which then, that was the pilot program for what eventually became the controversial Thailand Pass. So there was a lot of talk about Phuket at that stage because of that, not because we were doing the program from Phuket at the time.
But I think there was a lot of talk, full stop, worldwide about Phuket, because we were pioneering this kind of concept of trying to reopen. 11 months later now, still Thailand Pass. Any inside news, Tim, about that one going away?
Look, there is so much push against the Thailand Pass, the, what are the other things? The midnight closure, because you hate having to go home by midnight.
Yeah, quite obviously I stay up all night.
And the other one is what's the other one? The big one. There's the Thailand Pass, the face masks. So those three things, there's a lot of pushback on all of them. I suspect we're going to see some announcements in the next 2 weeks. It may not happen instantly, but I think by the end of July, I'm fairly confident that we'll see the end of at least those three things.
Well, not just for Phuket though, but if they remove Thailand Pass, it would probably help to boost tourism in all of the tourist destinations across Thailand.
The other thing to talk about, when we talk about what we bring into this program each day is that Thailand, unlike a place like Australia, which has got 7 quite big cities, in Thailand it's Bangkok and then everywhere else. I mean, it's such a big population hub. It's where the central government, it's where everything sort of happens. And yes, there's these great little tourist destinations around the place and these other localities up in the northeast really growing fast, growing expat population up in Isan. But really, Thailand from a news point of view is Bangkok, and then everywhere else. So that's why we tend to talk about Bangkok quite a lot. We're going to have a quick break and then come back with the comments. So we'll get to as many of your comments as we can. Thank you very much for participating in the program. Sean Stenning is our guest from 5 Star Marine, and we've also got Regents International School up in Pattaya as a sponsor. We'll be back on Good Morning Thailand right after this. Good Morning Thailand gets up to 80,000 viewers per week, and we'd like to weaponise our audience for you.
That's right. So if you have a business or property or even your house that you'd like to sell,
Private yacht?
yeah, we could be in space.
I'm not sure about space.
Well, all you have to do is contact us on info@thethaiger.com, and you can hire us up to a day or even a week, and we'll go to your property and do the show live.
Good Morning Thailand, coming your way. And welcome back to the program. You are on Good Morning Thailand, and tomorrow, Sean, we've got Jay back. Jay will be here hosting the program, and I'll go into the sort of the idiot seat.
I thought you were going to be in the pool in the background, just splashing around.
Maybe we can convince Jay. Jay got in the pool though and fill up pretty quickly. He's a big boy.
Being here, though, on set, I would just like to complain that the coffee cups are empty.
Well, we could use some of the champagne left over from the pool. Perhaps.
They are good cups, though. They're beautiful cups.
Of course they are. Saying all the right things. You'll get invited back one day. Let's go to the comments, and I'll just click things so I can see what's going on. Larry Connolly has said totally in favour of Adam and Steve. So just somebody supporting the Civil Partnership Act, which or Civil Partnership Bill.
When we were talking about that, did you mention the little catch that Thailand has put in there, that one person has to be a Thai national to enter in a civil partnership?
Yes, the Civil Partnership Bill will say you, sort of obviously really, but yeah, one of the couple will have to be Thai. So if we wanted to get married here, Sean, have a civil partnership, won't be happening.
I'm already married, so that's a problem.
So
you
will have to get divorced first. Okay. So then we wouldn't be able to, because neither of us are Thai. So that's one of the things of the Civil Partnership Act. Bill, it's not an act yet. One of them will have to be Thai. WOC ATM decided to get in and said, "I now pronounce you man and ladyboy." So that's going to be an issue, that a man who wanted to marry who was born as a man, I suppose that would be considered the same-sex marriage.
Civil partnership.
I think that what the supporters of the LGBTQ plus apparently these days, what they're really after is saying that if any two people wanted to get married, no matter what their sexuality or their orientation, just let them get married. Love is love. So the Civil Partnership Bill prescribes that there will be same-sex couple. Anyway, we'll know the details as it sort of comes to pass.
And again, it's step by step here, Tim. Let's get them through this first step.
Yes. The fact that it got through Cabinet yesterday without any coverage from the Thai media was a bit of a surprise.
And I see you have some comments there, Tim, about our Joe Ferrari.
Tech Symbol has already decided what's going to happen with Joe Ferrari. He says he will pay his way out of the monkey house. So he hasn't even been convicted at this stage. I don't even want to predict what may or may not happen. A lot of people saying, oh, he's going to get out of this. But I think that video footage was damning, to say the least.
It's a very public case. This has got a lot of, not just on your program, but Thai media as well. There's a lot of eyes watching this case.
Yeah, a lot of eyes, and I think if he was to get a conviction other than guilty, I think a lot of people would be very angry. Gunnar Hobstadt, he said, Tim, don't you think there's a bit too much Bangkok and Phuket in your programs? I think we've addressed that for you already, Gunnar. Hans Schellenberg, hi Hans, a member, thank you very much for being with us, says, awesome work, Sean.
Well, thank you very much, Hans.
Referring to your work on the program today or to your previous work?
Well, I don't know either, actually. I was thinking it about the program. I was trying to sell your cups before for you.
Thanks very much. Thailand Heron says, I doubt Joe will be sentenced today. Well, yes, I think they'll hand down the verdict. The sentence will come in future weeks and months, but we're just looking at a conviction today. Pretty much he's got a number of charges he's facing, so there'll be guilty or not guilty. In Thailand there isn't a jury system, so it would be a judge or judges ruling on this case. So we'll bring you all the latest on that. I'm just checking my phone again.
So you said about midday, right? We should be hearing something.
So it looks like some stuff has come through. Oh, somebody's sending us the Daily Mirror's picked up on our story about the French Muay Thai fighter yesterday. Mackie says, champagne, talking about my pool, which I filled with champagne, 35,000 litres. He said, champagne by law can only come from Champagne, which is a region in France. He says the best sparkling wine comes from New Zealand. So I think Australians are actually fairly proud of their wines. Not sure what you think out there, but I think Australian wines have come a long, long way from sort of Barossa Pearl in the 1970s.
Well, we're a little bit biased. You've got two Australians on the program talking about wine. Of course, we're going to talk about Australian wine.
Oh, they'll jump in, don't you worry. They'll be talking about...
In my business, we provide Australian wines.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is wine so expensive in Thailand?
Actually, this is something that's talked a lot about in the Australian business forums over here. It's all about taxation over here.
So how much of, when you drink a glass of wine, how much of that is tax?
I'm going to get really in trouble. Let's hope
But
someone
why
can
would you
comment
get-
on that. I don't
Okay.
have any idea, Tim. I buy the wine from an Australian importer. It comes, I think it's an Adelaide wine that we buy, actually. I've actually never had Adelaide wine by myself before.
If you were going to if you're going to go down to the shop in Thailand and buy a cheap wine, which country would that come from? I'm talking about cheap in price, not necessarily cheap in quality.
I think it would be an Australian wine, right?
Are they fairly cheap, are they?
Yeah, they are. They're not too bad. Again, speaking offhand here, I was in an Australian business meeting a few months ago, and I believe that the Australian government and the Thai government have a tariff understanding around wine. This is one of the big things that the Australian government tries to do with the Thai government.
Okay, so there you go.
With that said, if I go into a bottle shop, I won't buy it if it's not Australian. So I might be a little bit biased.
Certainly are. Interested to know what you think about the best wines available in Thailand, knowing that there's only probably 2 or 3 vineyards in Thailand.
So here's the interesting part. You haven't given your opinion, Tim.
I don't drink.
But do you buy a bottle for a friend or a family member?
From time to time, but usually when I look at the prices in Thailand, I think I'll just buy them a night out. I don't know, buy them anything except a bottle of wine. It's so expensive.
So I don't drink wine either, but I get it as gifts, and quite often I have to take a photo of it and send it to friends and tell me, is this like a good wine or not? Like I'm trying to
To
work
know if
out.
they're good friends or not.
Yeah, like is this a gift you give to someone you don't like, or is this a gift you give to someone you do like?
Tom has piped in and said, if a foreigner marries a Thai of same sex, what visa does the person get? Well, at the moment, this is a civil partnership bill. It's not a change to the Marriage Act. So this is not same-sex marriage. This is just...
You get a dependency visa. That would be a good question.
A dependency visa, I suppose, that could be one.
So here, if my son goes to school, I can get a dependency visa with him, if we're in a civil partnership. It would be interesting if the law opens that up as a window.
So, yeah, I think this is part of the complication, that when they introduce an act like this, or a law or a change, there's so many other things that have to happen, and that's maybe why it's taken so long to get to this stage. Comment from Hans, just clarifying that he was talking about your charity work. He was complimenting you on that. not your presentation on today's program, which, to be honest, has been average at best.
Yeah, it's okay. The last time I was on this program, Tim, was about 12 months ago, so I was surprised to get invited back.
Yeah, well, once a year is probably okay. That's enough. By the way, when Australians say things like this, we're not being rude to each other. People take these things very seriously. Why are you so rude? It's not like that.
No, it's
Or is it?
Aussie banter, right?
Maybe. I love blueberry wine, says the Annemeister. Best one is Island Grove from here in Florida. Florida, I wouldn't have thought Florida was a big place. Tropical climates aren't usually a good place to grow wines. That's why I noted that not many wines come out of Thailand. I think there's one called Monsoon Valley up in Hua Hin. But people have, some have said it's fine. Other people said, nah, not that great. But I think you sort of need that cold weather to make a wine great. I don't know what I'm talking about.
I'm sure you did all this research before we started talking about it.
AJF says South Australian wines are some of the best in the world.
I think you go, I buy Adelaide wines.
Where are you from, AJF? We just want to know. Bars have responded, but I don't see any girls dancing on bars like before. Somebody know why? This is a problem for Astro Lerobot. Apparently the bars are open, but the girls aren't dancing on the bars. What's going on?
He hasn't been down to Bangla in the last few days. I've seen some video. I think it's getting back to its old self.
Girls dancing on the bars?
Yeah, the videos that are going around look like it.
Okay. So a couple more questions. Tim, can you get hair stubble tattooed on your head? That's from Nitro. I'm aware that... What are you laughing at, Jason? Jason seems to find that humorous.
I think Jason's thinking that it would make his job easier, less reflection from the lights.
That light is very bright. Anyway, no, I'm not going to get... it would be very painful. It was so close to the scalp.
Yep.
Oh, that would hurt.
I did mention, though, that you should start wearing a hat.
Well, I wear a hat when I'm out, but I look ridiculous in hats. I have to say I'm not a good hat wearer. Number one looks much better in hats, so I don't. Question, do you know anything about alcohol production law in Thailand where I could do research about it? That's from Mackie. So can you go and make some hooch in your backyard? Can you brew beer in your backyard? I don't think you can legally.
I don't have an answer.
We don't know. No.
I was going to say when you were talking about it, I believe that a lot of the reason why Thailand didn't have a lot of these locally produced beers was because there were some strict laws around this. And I know one locally brewed beer is actually brewed in Malaysia and then imported, but it's operated by a Thai company.
So
that's as far as I know.
Yeah, drug production, yeah, sure knows a lot, but nothing about alcohol at all.
Now.
Juan Carlos says, I'm in Costa Rica and the girls I see on Thai YouTube channels look like mostly munters. I don't know. There's probably a naughty word I shouldn't have said.
You're picking up literally some of the best comments out of this, Tim.
David Boston, it's pretty random because there's so many comments. Tim, could you get a tattoo of a guy with a lawnmower?
That would suit you.
Well, I know I do mow my own lawn. I tried yesterday. It was so wet. It was heavy going.
Literally every Sunday you're posting a photo of you mowing the lawn, saying that that's your happy place.
I probably have done that once and you just remember it, that's all.
I think that's the Australian thing though. As a kid, that was my Sunday job, was to mow the lawn.
I love mowing the lawn.
And I like the smell of the fresh cut lawn and everything. It's beautiful.
I love the smell of cut grass in the morning. And Billy Burry Bapp says Thaiger should show traffic accident of the day like the morning channels do. Brill 1 on workstation channel 4 tuner takes out minibus. Nasty. Does Tim mow his lawn? Says Rit. I'm going to answer that very carefully and say I mow the grass once a week. In the garden behind me.
With your shirt off while taking photos and showing everyone.
Dale, who's a member, I'm not going to respond, says tax on imported wine is 60%. That's a pretty large whack. The thing is that the Thai government aren't protecting a vivid and huge local wine production industry. So why is the tax so high? Is it part of trying to protect Thais from alcohol generally? I thought they would have been better drinking a decent wine rather than some of the rubbish they do drink. No comment.
No comment.
Now crossing to the Thaiger traffic helicopter. BTS Army says, ew. BTS Army.
You can do a live weather update. The rain stopped.
The rain has stopped at this part of Phuket. When we say it's raining in Phuket, it's usually a very localised thing. And as Sean said, out on the islands, it's still fine and sunny. It can be very, very localised. Indeed, you can drive through a shower and out in a minute sometimes.
Yeah, and you can be here and then 15 minutes away, it's perfect sunshine. That's how
Another
it works.
interesting question, the Wu-Tang Life, says, why is golf so expensive in Thailand? Green fees, caddy, car to get there and back can run you to a total of 150 to 200 USD. So that's an interesting question. There are some great golf courses around
Are you a
Thailand.
golfer?
I can throw the club further than I can hit the ball. So I gave it up. I tried when I was in my younger years. I thought, this looks like a nice sport. My uncle used to do the golf clinic on a program called World of Sport, which was a show on the Channel 7 network in Australia. And he used to have like golfers come in and they'd talk about golf swings and tournaments. And so he and my father were great golfers. I couldn't care less. I used to live a couple of houses ago in a golf course, and I was on the 9th green, which for my cats was a great place to use as their toileting area.
I'm not certain that's good for the green.
No, it wasn't.
So in response to the
They
question,
didn't
why,
aim in the hole either, so...
why is golf so expensive? Is that expensive?
apparently $200 for a round of golf, I'd say that's pretty expensive.
I don't know, you get everything included, right? You're talking about taxi there, taxi back, green fees, caddy, cart. Like when I grew up playing golf, you get your bag and you carry it yourself. Here in Thailand, they've got people carrying it for you, you've got go-karts. It's like, that's the high-level version of golf.
Are you allowed to do it by yourself though? I think the caddies are compulsory because they get the tip and stuff. Anyway, there you go. The high wine tax, says Dale, encourages people to drink Thai-made beers and whiskey. Yeah.
Really?
Well, that's what he thinks. So anyway, there you go. Thank you very much for joining in today's program, and thank you very much to all the people that they've had their own topics going on, which I was complaining about one of the members being blocked or something. We haven't blocked anybody actually, but I'll leave the commenters to sort that out. But I thank you all very much. Sean, thank you for coming in.
Thanks, Tim. Nice to see you.
And congratulations on your work over the last 2 years and now with Living Waters Phuket. And hope we get some more good news from you soon.
Thank you.
To Jason, thank you very much. And for looking after the cat. One of the cats is taken to Jason. So that's all. You've had the royal approval. And thank you for pressing the buttons. No problems today. We will be back tomorrow with Jay and me doing the program for the rest of the week in Phuket. But from all of us here at the Thaiger, thanks for watching. And we'll see you tomorrow.